Alrighty, friends, today we are going to learn a new note. This is a video for our very last new note. You know this note and you know every note that we learn when we do recorder in 3rd grade with Miss Cooper. This is the last new note that we need to learn. And this note looks kind of funny, right? It's got a line through the bottom of it, which is kind of weird. It's hanging out below that staff and it's got a line through it. So that little line is called a ledger line. So what happens, friends, is there are more notes, there are more sounds we can make than the ones that are just on the staff. All right? We already kind of learned this when we learned our new note, low D, which was clinging on to the bottom of the staff, right? So this new note is one below low D. So if you go backwards through the alphabet, what's the letter before D? You knew that it was C. You are correct. We are learning low C. Whenever you see that note that has that little ledger line through it that's hanging out on the bottom below that staff, that is a low C. Low C uses every single hole on your recorder, including a pinky, right? So our left pinky never gets used. We never use our left pinky. Our left pinky always sticks out like it's a teacup, right? But we are now going to use our right pinky and cover up the holes that are actually on your foot joint. Now, some of you have recorders like mine. They may not be the same color as mine, but it has a foot joint that can be removed. All right? What you need to do right now on your recorder is take your hands and play like you're playing low D, and then take your pinky and reach for low C and try to cover up those holes. You see how I'm covering up the hole on that foot joint? Now, if you can't reach, if your foot joint looks like this and your pinky has trouble reaching, you have to wrap your pinky around, that's not a good thing, right? We don't want to wrap our pinky around. Our hole on our foot joint should not be lined up with the rest of our recorder. It should be rotated so that we can play it comfortably. Now, you don't want it rotated 50 degrees or 90 degrees like this so that it's completely on the side, because if it's completely on the side, then you're going to try to shove the tip of your pinky in there and you might not get it. There's like a sweet spot, and for everyone it's different because it depends on the size of your hands, right? But for me, my little sweet spot is right here. So here's my D, or yeah, my holes for D, and then my foot joint is at an angle. It's kind of like a 45-degree angle from the other holes on the recorder. And the goal is for you to be able to use the pad of your pinky, the pad of your right pinky finger, just like you use the pads of all your other fingers. So you shouldn't be reaching and using the knuckle. You should be using the very tip. You should be using the pad of that pinky finger. So make sure that when you're practicing low C, you get your foot joint in the right spot, okay? Now, if you have a recorder that does not have a removable foot joint, then yours is probably already at an offset from an angle to accommodate for the fact that your pinky is a lot shorter than all your other fingers, right? So, just like with low D, if you, in most recorders will have 2 holes on where low C is, a small one and a big one. You can see it on the picture on the screen that I have circled and with a pink arrow pointing to it. You want to cover up both holes with your pinky, because if you only cover up half the hole, it sounds like this. We do not want that sound, right? We want this nice low C sound. Ready? Okay. Now, low C takes a lot of something called breath control. Breath control is being consistent with your air. So you're not going, whoa, right? And we've talked about steamy window air before, but even that is just you want to make it really long and drawn out and be consistent with your air, because if you are not consistent with your air, if you don't have breath control, it's going to sound like this. You hear that? It went way up and then it started wavering around and then it tapered out towards the end to what it was supposed to be. So you want to use really soft air and you want to try to control how much air is coming out. Now, low C is our last new note for a reason, because it's the most difficult one. So if at first you're practicing and you get a lot of squeaks and you're having trouble with your breath control, that's okay. It's not a big deal, I promise, okay? Because it is a difficult note to play. Ready? Let's practice. Me first and you. I'm going to play 3 low C's. All of my fingers are down except for my left pinky. Ready? Me first and you. All right. Now let's try a different pattern. Ooh. See, even Miss Cooper makes mistakes sometimes. Ready? Let's try that one. Me first and you. Yeah. All right. So we have some low C practice time patterns. These are all patterns that are taken from the Black Belt song. So these are all pieces of the Black Belt song. So if you can learn these pieces, these little patterns, then you will know almost all of the spots where low C is played in Black Belt song. I think there's like 1 or 2 that I didn't include just because I didn't want the notes to be too small on the screen. So as always, if you want to stop this video and practice these on your own or something, that's fine. But we are going to go through them one at a time. I'm going to start right here at the top with this one. So let's do step 3. Let's finger and say it, but not play. So we start on a low C, right? Then we go up to an E, which looks like that, right? Then we go up to a G. Then we go up to an A. C, E, G, A. You want to try? Let's try it. Ready? Let's try it together. 1, 2, here we go. All right, good job. Now let's move to the next one, which is this one. I'll do that one next. So that's C, 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 E, right? C, 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 E. So your left hand doesn't move that entire time. Let's try it together. 1, 2, here we go. Yeah. If you keep your ears open, you might be able to figure out what our Black Belt song is. Some of you might know this song. Now, let's move on to this one. We are going to do the opposite of what we did in our first one. So we're going to start on A, then we're going to add 1 finger for G, then we're going to add 2 fingers on our right hand for E, then we're going to add our last 2 fingers on our right hand for C, right? A, G, E, C. Let's try it. 1, 2, together, play. Oh, Miss Cooper cracked that one. Let's try that again. See? Low C is really hard. I think I need to adjust my foot joint because my pinky's not covering the right way. That's why I made that squeaky sound. Let's try that again. 1, 2, ready, play. Much better. All right. Now let's move on to this guy. Right there in the middle, that's C. C, lift 2 for E, lift 2 for G. All right, let's try that again. Just in step 3. C, C, lift your bottom 2 fingers on your right hand for E, then lift your rest of your right hand for G. Let's try it together. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. Try it again. 1, 2, ready, play. All right, good job. And let's do this last one at the bottom. So we got some low D in there too. We haven't played that note yet today. So we got E, E, add one finger for D, then add your pinky for C, then lift your pinky for D. So E, E, add 1, D, add pinky, C, lift pinky back to D. Let's try it together. Ready? 1, 2, nice and slow. Good job. Let's try that one again. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, good job, friends. Now that you know low C, you can move on and start learning your black belt song. But if you're not comfortable with low C yet, make sure that you do some practice of low C patterns before you move on to that black belt song. Okay, friends? Happy music making.